Scott Grayson is in with this edition of Grayson's Grades here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. And, Scott, before we get to that, you said a lot of Eagle fans flew out. Were there a lot of Eagle fans in attendance last night? Did you see a lot of fans, a lot of green in the stands last night?
I did. I did go out in Newark because it was a little cheaper.
Oh, you were in Newark.
And I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised that there were, over 2,000 fans on my flight down there, just because I was going out of Newark, and then when I was pulling into the stadium and then they're in the stadium last night, you could hear it sometimes at some of those bad penalties. The Eagle fans, coming to life, and I had a guy sitting next to me who didn't write for anybody in Carolina or the Philly area, and he said to me, "Do Eagle fans usually travel as well?" I said, "They're very passionate, and when they have a quarterback they believe in and a team that they can get rallied around like they do right now, they're going to be around at all these road games the rest of the way. I would certainly imagine."
Hey, before we get into Grayson's Grades, you wrote a piece about the two linebackers last night. I know we mentioned Bradham's name almost every other play, it seemed like, last night. You talked to both Nigel and Michael Kendricks, who, look, Michael Kendricks has been very maligned, and he jumped in there after Hicks went down. Talking to those two guys last night, what you learned from those two guys, because they had 27 combined tackles.
Yeah, as I was looking at the box score before going into the locker room, I saw that and kind of did the big eye-popping thing going, wow. 17 for Kendricks, 10 for Bradham. And of Bradham's 10, they were huge. His tackles were incredible. The way he stopped guys from getting into the end zone there on that one pass out in the flat, and the way he chased down Cam Newton to keep him in bounds. Huge plays. I think the thing I was most impressed with is how humble both of them were. Particularly Michael Kendricks. He acknowledged he's a guy who's been through some adversity. He wanted more playing time, wanted a trade to get out of here so he could go somewhere where he could get it. Kind of waited his turn, and now, he got the chance. And I think it's going to be hard for Jim Schwartz to keep him off the field. He had a great preseason. We kind of said, it was preseason. And then look at what he did last night in a major game that the Eagles, really needed his contribution to get the W. So, real impressed with Michael Kendricks, and he acknowledged that the second year in this defense is really helping him. Second year for Bradham in terms of being around the other guys so they know what his style is, what his philosophy is, where he's going to be, and when, and for him to kind of understand them better. I think second year on both sides of the ball is proving to be huge for both offensive and defensive systems and the guys involved. They really look like a much better unit in terms of the way they're executing their plays on both sides than they did a year ago.
Grayson's Grades, let's pick out a couple real fast here and get your take on. How about Jim Schwartz and the leader, really, of that defense, pulling the strings, passionate guy. Talking to some of these guys afterwards, I don't know if you specifically asked, but, do they like playing for Schwartz? Because, obviously, you had him as an A last night.
I have a ton of respect for Jim Schwartz, and it's because he has guys ready. Look at the injuries. I know you guys have been talking about it. Look at the guys that go down during games. You don't have time during the week. You're either prepped to play or you're not as a backup at that point. And these backups seem like they're ready to jump in and take right over to the point where, as Malcolm Jenkins said, you don't even know that Hicks went out and Michael Kendricks is in there flying around like he was last night. So I think you got to credit Jim Schwartz for the preparation and the way that they have these guys ready to come in. Look, Rasul Douglas was ready to take over when Watkins went down. That all comes down to the coaching, the prep time, the film work, understanding the defense, and again, where they need to be and when. So I think Jim Schwartz deserves a lot more credit than he probably is getting, and he's making these teams one-dimensional. 13 carries for 1 yard from running backs. You knew at that point, even though they had a 5-point lead, that the only way the Panthers were going to win the game was going to be through the air if they were going to do it at all, or Cam Newton was going to have to run around like crazy because the Eagles' defense was doing a great job. Jim Schwartz has done an excellent job. Very impressed with the way he's handling these guys.
It was a thing of beauty last night, Scott Grayson. How about on the offensive side, Nelson Aguilar? It seems like we bring him up weekly, and it certainly seems like he's gaining more and more confidence with each game that goes by.
Yeah, you got to kind of wonder why they thought to start him on the outside in the first place, but that, I guess, goes back to Chip Kelly. Look, he's really at home in the slot. He's really doing a great job. He's got no fear working over the middle, and he's watching the ball into his hands. I mean, you're seeing a lot of things, those little things. He's not looking upfield before the ball gets to his hands. I think he was doing that a lot the last couple of years that were leading to his drops. And yesterday and throughout this season so far, he's watching the ball into his hands and then worrying about what moves he's going to make. And he went right into the end zone untouched last night. That was a huge touchdown at a huge moment in the game. Look, Aguilar, I think, has proven at this point that, he's going to be a key contributor this season. And I was one of his big naysayers, and I'm willing to admit at this point that, outside he's not good, but inside in the slot, it seems like he's got a home here in the NFL. I have been impressed with Aguilar.
And how about LeGarrette Blount? What has he added to the locker room and also their offense? You gave him a B.
Yeah, I gave him a B because, look, his pass blocking is what really kind of dropped his grade, in my opinion.
That's fair, by the way. That's fair.
I love the way that he runs the ball. And you hear it when Merrill Reese calls the game, man. He gets excited watching him run the ball. He just electrifies his offensive line to know that, look, we don't have to make perfect blocks because this guy is not only going to get hit at some point, but bring the pile with him every time he gets the ball, almost every time he gets the ball. And that's the biggest thing. Look, missing Smallwood right now is missing some of the third down back that they kind of need right now. And LeGarrette Blount's not the guy you want out there on third down, partly because of the pass blocking issues. So, he didn't do a good job with that last night. That's why I gave him a B, but I love watching him run. I think he's everything they hoped Ryan Matthews would be, but better than Matthews was, obviously, because Matthews went down when he got hit. The first guy that tripped up his shoelace would take him down. LeGarrette Blount, you got to really get 2, 3, 4 guys after him if you want to bring him down.
Scott Grayson was there last night. He's got Grayson's grades posted at 973ESPN.com. I like what you wrote about Torrey Smith. He didn't have a lot of numbers, but you're there, so you get to kind of see over the top from the press box. It seems like what you saw was that he requires attention, and that helps other guys.
By hitting some of the things that they've hit, like last week, or I guess it was really earlier this week on Sunday, the deep balls, he's got to get attention. And I think what you're going to see is that occasionally it'll be Torrey Smith that may have a bigger day than Alshon Jeffrey, and then occasionally Alshon Jeffrey will have a bigger day in terms of stats than Torrey Smith. But I think defense has got to pick which guy do we want to kind of try to prevent from going over the top. And I think they were more afraid of Torrey Smith, the Panthers were, so Alshon Jeffrey was able to get a 37-yard pass downfield. So I think those opportunities are going to be there downfield every game. Yesterday, it was Alshon Jeffrey's turn. Torrey Smith demanded the attention. Who knows how they're going to play him in the future as they go through the rest of the schedule. But I wanted to make sure I gave credit to Torrey Smith. I know his stats weren't good. A lot like we used to with Fletcher Cox, demanding double and triple teams. Torrey Smith demanded attention, and I think it helped produce some of the positive things the Eagles saw offensively at times.
Okay, the full grades at 973ESPN.com. Also, check out Scott's piece on Nigel Bradham and Michael Kendricks. He spoke to both of those guys last night. That's posted right now on our website, 973ESPN.com, along with a ton of other Eagles content from last night's win over the Panthers. And Scott, of course, the Eagles will be at home on Monday night, a 3-game homestand against the Washington Redskins. Not this Monday, next Monday. And, of course, Grayson's grades after every Eagles game. Thank you, Scott.
All right, thanks, guys.